Alright, so here's the thing. Something happened to me recently that I realized that I do often, and we all know the saying, it's not until you walk a mile in a clown's shoes do you understand what it means to put on the red nose. Or something like that. Whatever. But something happened to me lately. I'm not trying to dig at this person. I'm not trying to point fingers or blame or hurt this person openly. It's that when it happened to me, it awoken something inside of me. Awoken a message inside of me. And I'm just here to talk about it for a second, guys. That's the great thing about the First Amendment and the internet. But there's certain aspects of video games, and we buy them, and we buy these video games on purpose to do this certain aspect of video games. And I'm talking about online multiplayer. We buy multiplayer games and we consciously involve ourselves in that aspect of that video game in order to interact with other people, whether it be with your friends or whether it be in general lobbies. People are different. Every one of us has a different fingerprint and the different number of hairs on our head, even though some of us are less than others. We're all different, and we interact different, and every day is different. And something may have happened earlier in that day or in that person's life that you have no idea what's going on, and it may cause them to act a different way or a certain way. The thing is that when we make a choice to play those games and to involve ourselves in that aspect of that video game, to play multiplayer, we have to be ready to interact, to deal with those certain things, to deal with people who are different than you are, who have different expectations than you are. And trust me, guys, I get it. I hate to lose, and there's no part of losing in the video game or losing at anything in life that's fun. None. You know what I mean? But when we lose sight of people and who they are and the fact that they're different and the fact that they have their own lives, and we put our expectations or our desires above those, that's when it's not fun for anyone. Doesn't matter what your KD reads at the end of the match. It makes it uncomfortable and awkward. It doesn't matter if you know the person or don't know the person, just that interaction that you may or may not have with that person, even if you just muted them and then talked about with people why you muted them, it's awkward, guys. And it may be frustrating or not frustrating, but the thing is we have to expect that. And furthermore, and for people who I interact with on a daily basis, and a lot of you guys who watch these videos or share these videos, if you're a subscriber and you say that you're a believer in Jesus Christ, the commandment that Jesus gave us to love supersedes all those things, all those expectations, all our desires, all of me. Christ died on that cross and said, "It is finished." And then inspired the words through Paul to say that the old self is dead and I'm putting on you a new self. And that new self involves this commandment to love one another. And that love, and the very first thing that Paul writes about that word love is that it's patient. Because Paul knew, and God put in him to know that wisdom, that knowledge, to know that without the patience, everything else involving love is extremely difficult, if not impossible. Love is patient. That's why later on Paul writes that the fruit of the Spirit is, you got it, love, because he knew that without love, everything else down the line is impossible. If you can't love, and then in your love, if you can't be patient with people, if you can't be patient and wait and just understand and tolerate and have a conversation with people and maybe explain to them what's going on, maybe explain to them your frustrations, or I don't know, but to interact, to do the multiplayer part of multiplayer, the interaction, the camaraderie, the building up and the relationship building. There are so many of you guys out there that we're only friends on the internet and we only met because of online multiplayer. That part of it, that relationship building part of it, that's so amazing about that aspect, but can be torn down in seconds because of our lack of love. And if you do call yourself a believer, that is our mission. That is what we're here to do, is to know Christ and to make Christ known. And you can't make Christ known when you mute them. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm so guilty of this. And I didn't understand how guilty I was of this until it happened to me. Until I was the muted. Until I was the one people had to tolerate or put up with. And you know what? It sucks. But as a believer, I understood. And I just put myself in the non-believer shoes. What if I was an unbeliever? And I was playing with a group of guys who I knew claimed to be believers, to be Christians. What kind of message would that have sent to me? And it put me in check and said, how many times have I done that to unbelievers? Holy cow. How many times did I put myself above the mission that Christ gave me? Food for thought. Anyways, I just needed to talk about it. I love you guys. I appreciate all of you. That's all I got. Put your comments below. Hasta luego, mis amigos.